second time. Everyone passed the first 3 rows. I'm really sorry, but we didn't know that you were out there. So I'm going to go through this slightly quickly because I've already been going for 15 minutes. So, firstly, Warbler is awesome. You should use Warbler if you want to do like sculpture work. I like to do details and swords and that sort of stuff. It's great because it takes heat well and it sticks to itself and it's really easy to repair. But it's terrible, don't use it. If this guy can make that out of cardboard, you don't need Warbler. Also, you can't find it anywhere because, as I said before, Kamui's bought all of it. So, tools. You need, I use a, what are they called? Stanley knife. I use a Stanley knife. It's been a really long day. I use a Stanley knife. You'll need a lot of blades if you're using foam or foam board or cardboard because they dull very quickly. You can tell when they start to dull because you'll have to put effort into pulling it through foam. You need a heat gun. £25 from B&Q. Don't get an expensive one, it will break. I've repaired that 2 times and it's slowly dying further. You need a cutting board. £3 from Boys. Get one because you don't want to screw your tables up. You'll need something straight to draw along and measure things. I have several tape measures and a yardstick. Yardsticks are great for doing swords. You'll need a Sharpie because if you put a biro on foam, it will dent the foam and you'll never get that dent out. Paper to make the patterns. Glue gun, don't get an expensive one. £5 from the Yorkshire Trading Company. They will break. Yeah, £6 from Boys. Just get a cheap one, they'll break. Cutting board again, because I was tired when I made this. Other tools. Get a Dremel if you want to do sort of indented work that you want deeper than like a pen can do. That's why you should use a biro on foam, by the way. If you want like inscription work in it, then you just get a biro and write on it. It will stick, and like I said before, biro dents don't come out of foam, so that'll be good. If you want bigger stuff, get a Dremel. And as I said before, use the rock bits. They're generally blue or pink. Wear them down on like wood or something so they're really smooth, and then they'll just glide through foam. Palm sander saves on filling time because your arm will hurt if you hand sand everything. Soldering iron is also good both for cutting grooves in armour and cutting foam if you get the hot knife attachment. I still need to get one of them, but I'm told it's amazing because everybody else that makes Space Marine armour uses a hot knife. I don't because I'm a casual. Airbrushes save on painting time and they eliminate brush strokes, which are really annoying if you've got a really nicely made piece of armour and then as soon as someone gets this far away from it they can see all of your brush strokes, and I cry every time I see them, so I water down paint a lot and it takes about 50 coats to get it on. Dinophile is a belt sander that's that wide. It's really good if you want to do straight beveled edges that you know are completely straight. I make swords with the Powerfile, Dinophile Powerfile. Yeah, take it.
Coming round again.
Take this with you. Trippy, take this with you. And then stand there and wait for me to get to that part. If you're using hard plastics, get a jigsaw, or a hacksaw will do, but get a jigsaw because your arm will hurt. Get some clamps if you're going to be flat gluing things together. The good thing about Avafoam and Plastizone is that if you're gluing 2 bits together like that, you put a clamp on it, the clamp marks will fade after about an hour. So it's completely safe to do that. Also get YouTube or Netflix or something to watch or listen to because you will need it because this stuff takes a long time to make. So, materials. I started with Ava foam, which is what this is made out of. If you can see inside, it's nice and blue and white. It's got the same patterning on as this lady here. That pattern is amazing for doing Mass Effect armor. I can't find it anymore. I really want to make some N7 armor.
I've actually seen the panels and my local pet shop, they have them in a play area. And you had to ask them where they got it.
I really want some. Now I use cardboard. I like cardboard. It's good for structure. It's good for like everything, pretty much. As long as you put paper mache or some filler or something on it to make it nice and rigid, it's one of the best cosplay materials you can ever get because generally it's free. And cosplay is expensive, so free stuff is really good. So moving on from Ava foam, I then went to Plastizote, which is what that bracer is made out of. You can generally find it in black, grey or white. I foolishly bought black thinking it would be easier to use and undercoat and stuff. Turns out it's terrible because you can't see the Sharpie markers when you're drawing around templates. So I get white or grey.
I just use a silver Sharpie.
But that's effort. I have black ones when I was using Ava foam and I'm cheap. So I like Plastizote because it works exactly the same as Ava foam. Kind of more expensive. Slightly easier to get a hold of because it's professionally used foam, so you can find it on like online suppliers. I use Thames Valley Supplies. It's based down in London, but I ordered foam on Monday. It came on Wednesday, so they're pretty fast. They also sell Plastizote, unlike Ava foam mats, where you can get them in like 4, 8, 10, 12 mil, but you generally find 10 mil ones. You can get Plastizote in anything from 2mm to like 30mm. So I tend to use 10 for like the actual armour plates, and then I go on to do 5 for high raised areas like this part in the middle, and then like small details like this, I use 2mm stuff. The other great thing about Plastizote is it sticks together with super glue, so you don't need to worry about getting a hot glue gun. Super glue is quite cheap. Get the really cheap stuff. If you get the expensive stuff, it doesn't have the agent in it that instantly bonds skin. So,
that sticks your fingers together.
yeah, I mean you will get your fingers stuck together, but the cheap stuff is good because it almost instantly bonds Plastizote. I haven't tried it on Ava foam, but I'm told it does it for Ava foam as well. It does it with cardboard, and it does it with Sintra.
Does it Warbler as well?
Does it do it with Warbler? This is Sintra. It's also called Foamex here, or polyvinyl something. It's PVC foam board. Do you want to hand that out? You can start down there. I use that for sort of realistic armour things. If it needs to be like proper armour plates that are quite thin and not cartoonishly large, then Sintra's great. It's a heat. You can heat form it and it'll bend to whatever shape you want. It bends like cardboard though, where you can either go like that way or that way, but don't ever try and do a compound curve because it will just screw up the Sintra. A compound curve, by the way, if you don't know, is a curve like that, where it comes this way and that way. So I only ever bend Sintra one way. The good thing about Sintra is if you don't get it right, you can heat it up and unfold it just like Warbler. It's kind of expensive though. But they do make like big signs out of it, so if you've got a sign printing company near you, or if you've got a convention near you, just like slide up to them and go, hey, you're using those signs again. If not, I'll take them off your hands. And just take a big knife and then slash it up, put it in your car, whatever, drive off with it, and get it free to try. Again, I put resin and fiberglass on here just to say that you can use resin and fiberglass, but don't use resin or fiberglass. Kind of because half because it will kill you, and half because it's kind of hard to use, and if it's inside your armour and it sort of breaks and scratches against you, then you will bleed, it will itch. As I said before, I sanded fiberglass once, and my arms were on fire for 2 weeks. So the first step of armour making is patterning. If I can, I steal the 3D model and pepper it. I stole this one off DeviantArt. And then once I've made this, I'll look at the general shapes of the armour. So you get, like, this part would be one piece that is then, I then cut out with an X-Acto knife and fold out to make a pattern like this. Like that would be another piece, this part would be one piece. It makes it a lot simpler if you can actually have something in front of you and look at it and like pull it apart, rather than just looking at a reference on a computer screen. But also get references, because otherwise you won't know what it looks like in the end anyway. The most important thing is think about how it's going to get rigged together, because there's no point in having immaculate armour if you then can't attach it to your body. Because then you've just got a display piece for home and no one's going to see how awesome you look at it. So once you've got your paper mock-up, I tend to use card for mine. Like I've got this articulated gauntlet thing, just so I can see how it's going to get rigged together. Like here I put rivets down there. Once you've got the paper mock-up and you've sized it properly and you've got your final templates, you can start building. This site, as Lizzie pointed out earlier, is awesome. I would go there, but I've been informed that we can't get the internet here.
I'm not paying 15 quid for it.
Fair. It's a database of metal armour templates from, like, they've got stuff from sort of 600 AD up until about the Renaissance era armour, where it starts to get pretty rather than functional. So they've got like bassinet helm templates, they've got big shoulder pad pauldrons. This was from that site. This was from that site. This wasn't, but there's something extremely similar to this on there. YouTube also has some template things on it, but they're few and far between. So, this is the time when Vicky went to bed, and I was up at 4 in the morning after an all-nighter trying to get this together. So we got our templates, our final templates, we've chosen our materials, we bought our materials, and then we cry because they're so expensive. So let's get this built. This is the part where you need YouTube because it gets boring. So let's actually build this then. So we're going to build another one of these out of plaster soap. So this is that's your phone. This is a heat forming foam, and you'll be able to tell when because at the moment it's slightly rigid, but not that. So, it'll take a couple of goes with the heat gun at each side. Like thumb cuts. Really hot. No. It'll slightly change because at the moment it's kind of shiny. It'll get very dull once it's heated up enough because the surface will have slightly jellified. You'll do the next one. Pay attention. Okay. So, once that's done, you find what you're shaping it around.
Biceps.
So you got the rough shape there, and then what I do to keep the shape better is I like to press it out into a slight compound curve. I should be doing the left arm. So there you've got the slight compound curve, because when you curve anything, you can see it dips in slightly, where you might not be able to see it dips in slightly, but it does. So I like the slight compound because it will cool down, and that will get slowly, gradually less and less until it's almost straight. So you get to do the next one.
Yeah.
Don't burn yourself.
This is interesting.
Meanwhile, I'm going to put the detail out on this. One reason I like really thick foam is because you can, if let's say I want a slight ridge, so instead of it being curved like that, I want there to be a very slight ridge which will then get picked out like here. There's actually a seam all the way down the back. So that seam then comes with a ridge like that, which looks like it's either welded together or it's been beaten into that shape. Literally all I do is get something straight, put it in at a 45-degree angle, being careful not to go all the way through the foam, because otherwise you put your foam in half. And then you do the same on the other side, in the opposite direction. Pull that bit of foam out, glue that together like that, and you'll have a nice ridge. So I'm going to do that to the other two bits here. Also, I forgot my ruler, so I'm using my example pieces as a ruler. Can you tell I'm organised?
Yes.
Thank you, Lizzie. How's it going? Cool. Got that done. So I'll do the last one.
Like into music. So like this one.
Yep. I probably won't go through the entire thing as we're going to run over.
Yeah.
Right, so now we've got our 3 interlocking plates for the left bicep. Yay, the armour is in shape. No, it's not. The next part's annoying bit. Right, we'll do the next part, and there's more handouts. Rigging. Hate rigging. For something like this, where it's interlocking like that, I like using, I would have used D-rings, but I hadn't got any. So I just glue gunned on 2 strips of leatherette, one on each side, so that they can, I mean, it's a bit rough, but it still moves in an interlock armour sort of way. That's the simplest part of rigging. The second simplest part of rigging is doing that. I took bits of Sintra and looped them through D-rings that I then glued onto where I wanted my connections to be on the back of my greave. Then got a shoelace. I have bought my local boys out of shoelaces for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah. So
I'm,
many shoelaces.
yeah, I think the last time I bought shoelaces was for some Mulan armour, and I literally walked in, picked up all of their shoelaces and put them on the counter. I like shoelaces. Get flat shoelaces if you're going to rig with them, because they don't come undone as easily as round ones. And it's really annoying if you're in your full armour and you can bend like that far and your greave comes undone. Because you then have to go and then you start to hear armour creak and then it cracks and you know which bit's just broken.
You just have someone following you, just like...
Yeah. If at all possible, have more than one way to hold armour on. If I had more time to do this, it's really ugly underneath, by the way. This is my Paladin shoulder pad, and I've got 3 D-rings there that hook onto a rig that I'll show you in a moment. And if I had more time, then I would have put a strip of Velcro around there, so that that Velcro would then attach to another strip here, so it would be both on there and held on there. Just in case one of them fails. Like, I've got 3 D-rings, so if one of the D-rings fails, it's not, it can be fine. 2 of the D-rings fail, still alright, but then if the 3rd one fails, then I'm fucked. It shouldn't do that though, because it should be, I use a lot of glue to get those to stay where they are. Also make sure the heavy parts are adequately supported. Ryan knows all about this from when he had to hold my Space Marine backpack up for me because it kept sagging back and crumpling the back of my armour. Because that bitch was heavy. I like to make lots of shoulder support in mine. I'll just pick this up again. I've got a lot of, this is roughly the shape of my shoulder, but I've put more in here so that when it's actually on, it's pushed up like that slightly, so the weight of it will then pull it down to about where it's supposed to be. There's one thing that I can't stand about armour is how heavy it has to be, because it never sits right. So, after you've got your armour rigged, oh, actually no, before you finish your armour rigging, I have my, this is my harness. This was inside the Space Marine armour, it's now inside the Paladin armour. It's literally a almost form-fitting jacket that has corset lacings up each side so I can alter it if I get fat, when I get fat.
Where did you get them from?
I made these. If you go to the Stan Winston School of Special Effects, there's a tutorial that costs about £12. You use couture fabric, which I think is corset making stuff, and corset boning to get it sort of rigid. Like, I need to loosen this a bit. But yeah, my 3D rings, then these go through the D rings, and it just pulls it to my shoulder. And because this is quite tight, I'm going to say, I'm going to take it off now because it's, this won't move. Like, this held my Space Marine together. The good thing about this is because it's pretty much all boning and fabric. You can put bones in wherever you need them. If you're making a specific costume, like the Mass Effect stuff, I would then have through the undersuit. I'd have this underneath the undersuit, and then I'd have all of my armor connections going onto this, because then I could move and run and dance. It wouldn't move at all. Another way you can do shoulder pads is you get some small plastic tubes, like the glow stick connectors, and sew them on here, and then you can just lace through that. Shoulder pads, bitch to get properly done.
So you have to have holes in your costume to get the...
Yes, but the holes are under your armour.
So if you have like a robe and you have to have armor on top, you have holes under
For
your
mine, I've got Velcro, which I've just sewn, like this, and then on my actual armour, I've got the D-rings, which I thread it through,
Yeah,
and that's how I've
she's
done
got the
mine.
same setup on as my harness, but because her shoulder pads are so much lighter than mine, we just put them straight on
Yeah, I
here.
can literally just have them straight on here
It
because
depends
they're
on the weight or what you're
Yeah, and what your material is. Like for my Paladin, I have a cotton t-shirt, which is stretchy, I don't want something connected to my armour to be stretchy, because then I'll stand there and my shoulder pads will slowly go like that. Whereas this is made of leatherette and faux suede, so that's not going to move.
Yeah, this is pretty strong.
So, you can wear it now, but it's not done, because now it's currently pink or blue or whatever colour your foam is. I hate painting. If there is a way to make painting easier, I try and find it. But you don't even get to paint it right away. You need to fill it. And if you use foam, you need to seal it. So I'm going to have Vicky pass these around. These are the various steps that I take to seal and fill my armour. If I have something like a seam, like these compound curves are actually, if you look inside, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 seams running down here so that I could get the curve right. So they had to be filled because if I put primer over it and it looked horrible. So I used acrylic decorators caulk, I think.
Yeah.
So I got a wet sponge, just like a scouring pad, back of the scouring pad, wet sponge, put it on, smooth it out, leave it for about 3 hours and then you can sand it. That's no longer what I use because I tend to make rigid armour. It's just my autograph from Jim's file. Now I use polyfiller because I make rigid armour. I would recommend not using polyfiller if you're going to be in like an NCM Expo where everyone's going to be like that. Because if it gets bent, it will crack. If you don't have it, I put a coat of PVA glue over it, it should be fine, but it will crack and you will notice, and it will look kind of bad.
So if you're using, like you say, an MCO and you've got like head armour and chest armour and everything, just use the filler decorators.
Yeah, if it says flexible on the jar, pot, whatever, tube, then it should be alright. Don't make massive seams in your armour though. Yeah, just be careful as well. Like, don't get to the point where you are squashed in like that.
Yeah.
Seems horrible to fill.
If you got a couple of people with battering rams to get for that.
Yeah. And if you are using foam, you will need to seal it before you put paint on. I tried putting spray paint straight onto foam once. It was back when I started doing cosplay, and it destroyed the foam. Expanding foam especially. Expanded polystyrene, don't ever spray that with an aerosol because it will melt. Ava foam and PVA, I've found if you put 4 coats of Ava foam and plastersoap, if you put 4 coats of PVA on it, then the surface is then plasticky enough that you can put a coat of primer on it.
What colours will the primer come out? Is it dry clear?
Primer doesn't matter at all. You can use, I use red, or I use Halford's filler primer, which is orange.
Well, I was wondering, as in, can you get primers that dry clear? Because you said that plastisone, you can get white plastisone, and one of the armours I'm trying to make is white, and it's got some pink.
Is that Ashley's armour?
Yeah,
Use white paint afterwards.
yeah.
Because the problem is if you, you can just get white foam and do it that way anyway. If you're going to put paint directly onto Ava foam, you want to use like emulsion from B&Q or wherever.
Oh, I don't mean, I meant, you said put the PVA on,
Yeah,
and if the PVA is on, and then put primer, but can you get primer that dries clear?
I don't know.
Okay.
From what I've seen, we can't. Normally you just go for like
But if you are using PVA glue and you don't want to paint all of it, you probably don't need a primer.
Yeah.
You can, if you use an acrylic paint, it should just paint straight onto the PVA, no problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Several layers.
Yeah, but you won't need primer. So, there are several types of painting. if you want your armour not to have brush strokes, water down your paint a lot, or use spray paint. This was sprayed, and the gems were hand painted with a brush, and you can tell that there's brush marks when you get close up. You don't have to get an airbrush. I have one, but I don't really use it that much. This stuff, not really important. This stuff, important. You need to seal your armour after you've put your paint on, because otherwise, like, I made a set of Roman armour and I went out and it rained, and then I had nasty streaks of like dirty rainwater all down it. I use PVA glue to seal my stuff, but I made full red armour, went outside, it rained, I was pink. It will dry back again, but it'll take a few hours. Blood effects, glow effects. I'm not the master of either of those two, but if you've got an aerosol can, then you can kind of do it by holding the can further back and just doing light sprays. Blood effects I'm I'm better at. You just mix up some paint and just splat it off like that. Do it outside. Don't do it with emulsion. Don't do it with enamel. Use acrylic, because that can wash off. Water-based acrylic. Use water-based acrylic, not oil-based acrylic, because water-based acrylic will wash off. So, now you're finished, yes? No. Go to a convention with it on and wear it because you will look cool. Also, take lots of drinking water, or make sure that you have someone with lots of drinking water, and not rum. This man, I was in a full set of Space Marine armour. I went, Brian, can I have a drink? And he went, sure, have this. It was a bottle of Coke with like that much rum in. I was going on a masquerade in about 2 minutes after that. So other important things are you need to think about ventilation. If you're going to wear full armour, or even if it's just your torso, you need to think about how you're going to be able to breathe in it and how the airflow is going to get through. I don't know how warm you've been, but I was in my paladin armour, like sweat like a bastard. So every now and then in paladin armour I have to do this. Because my sleeves are nice and baggy, so the airflow comes in there and I get a nice cool breeze. With the Space Marine, I have a 12 volt PC fan powered by a 9.6 volt remote control car battery. That lasts 3 hours. So every 3 hours, she has to take my armour off and replace the battery. However, don't be in your armour for like 3 hours. I would recommend, if you're wearing full body armour, an hour, and then you take it off for half an hour and cool down, have a drink, stretch out, because if you've got thick armour going all around your sides, you tend to stand like that, and my arms hurt after about 15 minutes of standing like that. You need to think about how easy it is for you to move, how easy it is for you to get through doors. If you talk to one of the people that's in the dealer's room, they will tell you that at Iacon, when I went on stage to do my masquerade piece, I couldn't fit through the door. I was both too tall and too wide to fit through a double door.
He put on the legs and then we had to stand there
Yeah,
on
so
his chest.
I was like Wallace from in the wrong trousers, dressed up to here with these like giant pants.
All you could see from the side was
Hobble
people putting
through
on
the
his top.
And
What were you back
then
then? What cosplay was that?
that was a Blood Angel Space Marine at
I think
Iacon.
I might have talked to you with that.
Where is he? Mark. That guy rushed on stage, put stuff over my head, and it was a mess. So think about how well you can walk through doors. I'm going to have problems tomorrow because I've got 2 of these, today, so I've got 2 of these, and like, it comes out to there. I need to walk like that going through doors.
Stick on a trolley thing and just roll you in.
Yeah.
Scroll him in.
You also need to be aware because, I'm just going to pick this up again, I can't see where that sword point is. So if I'm walking around, I might accidentally smack someone with it if I'm too close to them. I've got a shield as well that I can't see the end of because it's down there. Just be aware of how big your armour is and make sure that you stay far enough away from people that you're not going to hit them. Or have a handler. She's my handler. If I'm in a big bulky suit of armour and I can't see where I'm going, then she walks behind me and makes sure like no one creeps up behind me and like, shoves me or whatever.
Basically, he was wearing this huge backpack,
Yeah.
which when he walked, it would wobble like this. So I had to stand behind him doing this, going, get out of the way, move.
Another reason I have a handler is, has everyone seen the video of the guy in Birmingham?
Yeah.
There's the
Yeah.
predator and he gets
And he
pushed
just
over.
gets pushed over.
Another reason I have a handler, because like they'll take care of you if that happens.
Yeah, you don't want to be walking
And,
around and
like,
someone shove
In the Space Marine armour, my blind spot is everywhere that's not here. So if I'm standing there and I'm like, I need to turn around and go that way, and there's someone standing there, I'm going to turn that way and knock someone over. So she stands behind me, she can see where I can't, and sort of usher people. I'm like, Vicky, I'm going to turn around now.
I do the one thing that everybody else is not allowed to do and stand right in his blind spot and go, now you can turn, and then get out of the way.
Another thing to note is it's really good to experiment with stuff. I mean, this was my first real armour with Plastisote, and I'm in love with this stuff now. I think I've spent like £200 on Plastisote in the past few months, because I love it. And that was purely because I experimented with it and tried it out. Another thing, I did it the same with Sintra. I made a Warblade with Sintra, and now I'm convinced that all my weapons are going to be made from it. Except that's not convention safe.
Oh no.
Don't give up, because your first armour will probably look terrible, and you will think it will look terrible. I think this is horrible, because I have spent a month this far away from it. So I know everything that's wrong with this. And I'm sick of that. And I'm sick of this, and I'm sick of this armour, and I'm sick of these bits, because I've spent so much time with them that I think that they look terrible because it doesn't look as good as whatever, or it's something wrong with it. Like, on the bottom of my braces, I didn't fill in that gap. So that bugs me every time I look at these things. But no one's going to see that, because when it's on, oh shit, there we go. When it's on, my arm is there, and no one can see it, but I know it's there.
You don't know that now.
Yep. So when you see me tomorrow, you'll be like, oh, I embrace
Oh,
you. And like this. On the bottom, under here, this is a complete mess. I hate this part of my costume, because it looks absolutely horrible.
But look.
But it goes on like that.
Hello.
So no
Nobody's going to come up to you and go, what's under here?
It's a cross.
You can just bat them away.
Just like you will think your armour will look terrible, but most people won't. There will be some people who will tell you it looks terrible, but ignore those people because they are bitches. Yeah, I've had people tell me my arm's terrible, but I don't care. I have fun making it and I have fun wearing it. Also, this kind of goes into a point that I gave before. Just be careful when you're in armour, especially when you can't see. Like, I'm assuming you have a blind spot at somewhere where you can't turn your head and see. So right behind you, basically.
Yeah.
So if someone's standing right behind you, I would have, like, if I've got, my armour tends to be like there. So I can't see past sort of that area. So I need someone with me. Fortunately, I have like 4 people with me, and we all tend to watch each other's. Like, if she's wearing armour and I'm wearing armour, I'll watch her blind spot while she gets mine. Or
Yeah, I
we
can't
have
see
someone,
anything when this
we have
comes
our,
up.
we have Sophie and Ryan, our plain clothes cosplay helpers.
Casuals today.
Is that it? Oh yeah, the cool armour show. Okay, this is Daniel. He is part of Roses and Bolt Shells. They're on Facebook. This guy made everything. All of this is the same material as your armour, that helmet. It's all Overflow. Freehand templates. He just picked up some foam and made it. That's what experimentation gets you.
They're on Facebook.
They're on Facebook. They're really cool. Next is my Space Marine.
Roses and bolt shells.
This is all templates. I ripped the game files from Space Marine and printed them off in PET format. So everything was kind of like that until I cut up the templates and made it into that. That's all Ava foam. That's Plastizote. That's roses from Roses and Bolt Shells. That was a freehand Plastizote build. That's Dulcinea.
I'm not entirely sure how to
Dulcinea
pronounce it.
cosplay. She was the Lithuanian entry in Euro cosplay this year. This is Warbler. She uses filler primer rather than, I know Kamui uses gesso or gesso, or however you pronounce it. I use filler primer, she uses filler primer. It takes like 40 coats or whatever to get like that. Next is, this is Dragonfly cosplay and Kian O something, the UK and Ireland entries in Euro cosplay this year. They sculpted their armour and cast it out of resin. If you're good at sculpting, do that, especially if you've got money, because that way you get it exactly how you want it. I tried sculpting and I'm terrible at it, so I use Peppercurl. This is Cassidy cosplay. This is Wonderflex, which is a cheaper alternative to Warbler. Wonderflex is quite good, but it's less flexible or whatever. It's got a fabric weave in it. So it's slightly stronger when it's thinner. And is that it? Oh, this is the Bulgarian Euro cosplay thing. She makes this out of metal, which is exactly the same as Sintra, in that you can cut it and then heat form it, but you can dish it with a hammer. But the breastplate, all she did was she cut out a Pac-Man shape and then pulled it together and riveted it to a harness, a leather harness underneath. But yeah, I mean, I had a chat with her and she said that she'd never make metal armor again. So, go for questions. Also, take a card. If you're handing out. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, whoever. Lynn?
Feet. What would be a good way of doing it to ensure they actually stay put?
What, boots or like both?
I guess both.
Boots, lots of straps. Like for this, the way I make it, because I hate greaves because they always go up or down or side to side. Or mostly they slide downwards and to the right, or to out. The way I got around this was I have a boot that is thick enough to keep that where it should be once it's pulled tight. And then I've got that, and then if I wanted to get even further, I'd put a second one on there. If I was wearing, like my sandal in my Space Marine boot is bolted down to the boot, and then I've got some 2-part poly adhesive, which has like 40 kilo load. Lots of glue, screws if possible, bolts definitely, straps up your leg as well, and that it won't move. Not yet.
What's your preferred material for making swords?
Do you want it to be convention safe?
Or well, either.
Okay.
You said Sintra for...
Sintra is really good. The way I make swords is I have a core of balsa or dowel or something. And then I have this, like several layers of sword, and then I sand it and fill it. If you find me after the masquerade, or like in about half an hour, I'll have my Warcraft sword, and I'll talk you through how I made that.
Also, message us because we will answer any questions. Because seriously, rambling.
Yeah, I have no life and sit on Facebook all day. So.
For a beginner, what sort of things do you think would be the easiest things to start off with, just trying to practice?
Braces.
Braces.
Yeah. I don't know if you got to see this, but like this was a half-hour build for me, and it uses like practically zero materials. So you're not going to waste anything if you mess up, and you can make like 30 of them in a day. Yeah, braces are good. Then I'd say move on to things like helmets, shoulder pads. Just what do you want to make? And then make it. I mean, it doesn't matter if the first one looks bad, you know, I mean, then you go and make a second one. And then if that looks bad as well, then make a third one until you just kind of get to the point where you just go, right, I'm going to make this. Done. It looks good. I'm still not at that point.
If you make it a foam sword with concrete, and it's 2 makes 1 sword, if you use foam, how's the best way to sand it so you get the
I use a power file, but you can use, you can either use a Stanley knife or you can get, you know, disposable extending knives, just like pull it right out and just kind of go at it.
easiest to do it?
Yeah, because then you just go and it's done.
So it works with your foam.
Yeah, you will have to clamp the foam down. The foam's quite light, so if you put the power file on it, it'll go.
But just so it won't go really good.
It will go rough, but that's why you need to fill it with like decorator bolts. All of my swords are filled with polyfiller. So you can, I mean, one of her war blades is literally foam and polyfiller.
And then sand the one filler down to me.
Yeah, but you can hand sand that. I start off with like 180, 120 grit, and then immediately jump to like 400, and it should be fine. You'll probably use 2 coats of polyfiller. Any more questions?
No, you need to get changed.
Okay, I need to get changed. Thank you, everyone.